Everyone in the auditorium assumed she was just the janitor who wandered in by mistake. Her faded work jacket, tired eyes, and quiet posture didn't belong among pressed uniforms and proud families. But when an admiral's gaze froze on the small metal pin on her chest, the entire graduation ceremony came to a sudden, shocking halt. Backhand index pointing right. Before we begin, tell us, from which part of the country are you watching today? Drop it in the comments. The old woman arrived early, long before the seats filled. She moved slowly down the aisle, her worn shoes making almost no sound against the polished floor. A few people glanced at her, then looked away, assuming she was staff. After all, she wore a plain maintenance jacket with a custodial badge clipped crookedly to the pocket. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly, and her hands showed years of hard labor. She didn't seem to notice the looks. She was focused on finding a seat near the back. This day mattered to her more than anyone knew. For 23 years, she had worked nights as a janitor, scrubbing floors, emptying trash, cleaning classrooms long after everyone else had gone home. She had done it quietly, without complaint, because it paid the bills and helped her raise her son alone. Today, that same son was graduating from a prestigious military academy. She had never missed a milestone in his life, and she wasn't about to miss this one. As the auditorium filled, whispers started. A man in a suit leaned over to his wife and muttered that staff shouldn't be sitting with guests. Another woman frowned, clearly annoyed. An usher walked halfway down the aisle, hesitated, then turned back, unsure whether to confront her. The old woman sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the stage. Pinned to the inside of her jacket, barely visible unless you look closely, was a small, worn unit pin. Most people would have missed it entirely. The ceremony began. Names were read, applause rose and fell in polite waves. Cadets marched with precision, faces proud, families beaming. Where her son's name was called, the old woman's eyes filled with tears. She clapped softly, afraid to draw attention. He scanned the crowd briefly, searching, then saw her. Their eyes met. He smiled just slightly enough. That should have been the end of it. But then, as senior officers stood to prepare for the closing address, a high-ranking admiral paused mid-step. His eyes narrowed. He looked again, slowly scanning the audience, until they landed on the old woman. More specifically, on the faint glint of metal at her chest. The admiral froze. A murmur rippled through the room as he turned fully toward her. Without speaking, he stepped down from the stage and began walking up the aisle. Each step felt louder than the last. People shifted uncomfortably. Some assumed she was about to be escorted out. When he stopped in front of her, the room was completely silent. "Ma'am," the admiral said, his voice steady but strained, "may I see that pin?" The old woman looked up, confused. Slowly, she opened her jacket just enough to reveal it. The admiral's breath caught. His posture snapped straight. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and saluted. Gasps echoed through the hall. That unit, he said, voice thick with emotion, was disbanded before most of these cadets were born. I served alongside them in my earliest days. Very few survived. All eyes were on her now. She tried to wave it off. "It's old," she said softly. "Doesn't matter anymore." "Yes, ma'am," the admiral replied. "It does." He turned to the audience. This woman is not just a janitor. She is a former service member who completed classified operations that changed lives, including mine. Her service was buried under secrecy, and her sacrifices were never publicly acknowledged. The room felt like it was holding its breath. Her son stood frozen near the stage, disbelief written across his face. "I didn't tell him," she whispered. "I just wanted him to have a normal life." The admiral nodded. "And because of that, he stands here today." He invited her to the front. Shaking slightly, she stood and walked down the aisle. This time not invisible, not overlooked. Cadets rose to their feet. Then parents. Then the entire hall stood as one. Her son met her halfway. For the first time in years, she let herself cry. That day wasn't just his graduation. It was her recognition, not for medals or applause, but for a lifetime of quiet strength, sacrifice, and love. And long after the ceremony ended, No one in that auditorium would ever forget the janitor who turned out to be a hero. If stories like this, you will be subscribed to the channel.